Number 6, the right to finality. The right to finality. The question is usually asked, okay, people talk about statute of limitation, how long can I go before I do this, how long can the IRS go before they ask me to pay, etc., etc. Now, of course, there are different statutes of limitations for different matters, so it's not a one date or one period, okay? But bottom line is, as far as your right is concerned, you have the right to be told, to know what timeline you're working with. What timeline you're working with. I like to point out to my clients that the IRS's letter series, let's call it letter series, have a particular pattern. They start by merely advising that, okay, you have a tax bill of $100, please take step to pay by such and such a date. If you cannot pay, give us a call, blah, 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 blah. Very mild. Followed by another letter sometime down the road, if you're ignoring the first, to say, still have this matter outstanding, and if you do not set it by such and such a date, we intend to levy bank account, garnish wages, etc. The timeline between those two letters is, it's a while. You still ignore it, it goes on to the next point where you may actually find that the IRS is now moving forward to garnish your wages, etc., etc., etc. There's a lot more details to this, but I just wanted to point out that this number 6, the right to finality, is speaking to you having a right to know what kind of time frame or timeline you have to work with. So if you know that, all right, I need to submit this within now and the next 45 days, yes, it helps you. It helps you, okay? You can arrange yourself, get your documentation, put your facts together, etc., etc. So if you get a call, like some people have gotten a call to say this is the IRS calling and you need to pay now, or else we come into your gate with our tow truck to remove your Mercedes out of your garage, etc., you know that is just nonsense, okay? The IRS is a structured, organized, orderly institution, and so all correspondence flow is done in a very deliberate manner. And what you find is that when it comes to collection matters, tax debt matters, there is a series of timelines and dates that you as a taxpayer have a right to know about. Okay, that's the right to finality. That was number 6. We now move to the 7th right. The 7th right, the right to privacy. Okay, that goes without saying. That goes without saying. You're dealing with your tax returns and your tax information, like a lot of other things, are private matters. Okay, private information. And so, yes, the IRS is privy to all of that information, right? But it is understood that that information or that body of knowledge about your tax life is being held and kept and protected by the IRS. And so you have a right to privacy. Right to privacy. So let's say that you're trying to negotiate a deal out there, and the party with which you're negotiating wants some information about you. They cannot just call up the IRS and say, oh, by the way, I'm contemplating doing a deal, a contract with John Brown, and I'm just checking for you to give me an idea of what is his tax status, so I can know whether or not it's worth what. No, you would never get any information from the IRS. So there is what we call a particular form that you, the taxpayer, will have to send to the IRS to request that the IRS release information about your tax picture to a third party. Other than that, it is sealed. And that is why if you call the IRS, you're asked about maybe 3-4 different identifying questions just to ensure I mean, they can't cover every base, but trying to ensure that you are who you say you are when you call before they start divulging information. And also on that call, if you should ask about any tax matter to do with any other but yourself, you will not get that information. One exception, and it's not really an exception, but I just classify it as that. If you file a joint return, yourself and wife, yourself and husband, then it is really one return. And so the information on that tax returns, you can get that information for both yourself and spouse because there was a joint filing. So in the IRS's eyes, it's a single tax return, just that it has information for you and an information for spouse. So that was number, did I say the privacy? Privacy. The number 8 speaks to confidentiality, which it actually dovetails with privacy and confidentiality. Huh? Privacy and confidentiality, one marries into the next because that's what it's all about. So when you prepare your tax returns and give all that information, my social security, my date of birth, my marital status, how many kids I have, what investment I have, etc., 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 that is for the purpose of ascertaining what is your tax obligation. All that information will be kept in confidence by the IRS and will not be available for dissemination, will not be available to third party through arbitrary dissemination by the IRS. So that is your right to confidentiality. We look at two other rights. And I think that will take us to number 9. Number 9. And let me just pause here before I move on to number 9. I always say this to my clients. There's a lot of information that is readily available to you. Readily available to you. No one is asking or expecting that you will become a tax guru overnight. As a matter of fact, you're not interested in becoming a tax guru. But there are a lot of simple, basic information that it would definitely serve you well to open your mind to seek, to understand. You don't have to get into all the technical jargon, but there are some basic, simple tax matters, tax issues, tax principles that as a taxpayer, any taxpayer ought to be aware that these are the things that are in existence, these are the requirements, these are the obligations, these are the rights, these are the benefits, these are the advantages that can accrue to me, or work against me. Very important. Okay? So number 9. The right to retain representation. The right to retain representation. Taxpayer is contacted by the IRS. IRS is saying that, okay, this is situation XYZ reason, you owe some money. And so you're talking to the agent on the phone, you're trying to work through it and come to a decision and a conclusion. And basically it's a one-to-one, back and forth, trying to work it out. It may be sorted out at that level. It may have to be escalated to what we call the independent forum, the appeal. Even then, it may not be resolved there. You have the right at that point, or at any point, as you see fit, okay, to have legal representation. So number 9. The right to retain representation. When you talk to agents at the IRS, they are the upfront people, they are the front desk people speaking with you. But any technical tax matter that needs to be addressed by the IRS is really done by the IRS's legal team. Don't think it's the person who's on the phone there looking at a screen that is actually going through and working out what, as they like to call it, is in the best interest of the IRS. Because you know, you must have heard that all agents, all IRS workers operate in a manner that will result, that is always of the better or the best, in the best interest of the IRS. So back to what I was saying. The IRS as an organization has its legal team, its legal body, and whenever it becomes necessary, they will refer matters to their legal team. So don't feel any way to think that, okay, if I go and get a lawyer to do my tax matter, it may seem as if, you know, I am being belligerent or whatever. No, it is your right. It is your right. It will not put you in any disadvantageous position. It is your right to seek legal counsel, to retain representation. Because at the end of the day, all you're saying, I need someone who is knowledgeable, whether it be a tax attorney, whether it be a CPA, whether it be a enrolled agent at whatever level. I need a person who is knowledgeable to represent me, because this matter is above my pay grade, as they like to say. So you have a right to retain representation. And the last one we look at is the right to a fair and just tax system. This is almost like a tongue-in-cheek statement, in my view. As a taxpayer, you have a right to a fair and just tax system. Yeah. We all have a right to that. Okay? To what extent is it in our power as taxpayers to ensure that we have a fair and just tax system is questionable. But the point is that we have that right. And theoretically, the claim is that that is what we have. A fair and just tax system. I know some will agree, some will disagree, but hey, that's what it is. So there we go. Okay? We have looked at 10 taxpayer bill of rights. Bill of rights. Not bill of favors. Not bill of humble requests. As if you're going to go to us and say, by the way, I don't know if you would consider giving me some information about my right. I don't know if you would consider me, appealing your decision. No. That's not what you're there. So do not approach the IRS in that beggar's cloak, with that beggar's cloak mentality. Yes, you're going to be very respectful. We ought to be. Because you negotiate is a business negotiation like any other. Okay? But remember that you are on a similar footing. Just that on this side of the table, of the desk, the IRS sits. On that side, you sit. And so two individuals are going to discuss and come to a conclusion about a matter. This happens to be a tax matter. And we're saying that you, on this side of the table, on this side of the desk, don't think that you are a victim. No, you have rights and you ought to know those rights. And with that knowledge, then hopefully you will approach your tax matter or your IRS interactions in a different manner. That will make you be more proactive. So instead of trying to avoid and trying to delay, you just move to it because you know you're right, you know what you can do, you know what is required of you, and you know what is required of the IRS in that setting. And that puts you on a very sound footing. Good? So that's it for me for today. I just thought I would share that with you. And as we come, of course, close to the end of the year, we're going to take a little breather, relax. Thanksgiving's around the corner, and then Christmas. But hey, before you know it, it's come on, shape up. The new year is dawning, and it's again time for us to turn our attention to the tax season. So as you go into the new tax season, when that time should come, take a different approach. Be knowledgeable of what is on your tax return. That again, I must stress. Okay? Don't just leave it to a tax preparer to say, okay, here's the documentation, you prepare my taxes, you tell me the result, and that's it. No. Be conversant, be familiar with the information on your tax returns. Nobody's expecting you to know all the technicalities of it, but have a general understanding of what it's about and go into the new tax season when it arrives with confidence that, okay, I have a right here and I'm an equal player in this tax arena. That's it for now from me, David Etienne, from Etienne Business Solution, the company, but of course, this is Etienne's place where you get all your tidbits, your information, your guidance. So remember, if you have not yet done so, to check my YouTube channel, Etienne's Place. There's a whole long list of videos on varied subject matter. Accounting, finance, personal planning, taxation, you name it, business development, it's all there. So I encourage you to check out Etienne's Place, which is our YouTube channel. Subscribe, share, like, leave a comment, and let us know, there are other things, other topics that you may be considering that you would like us to air, because you may think that such thing would be of benefit to you as an individual, or maybe you're a small business owner, operator, that think you could benefit from a little discussion on a topic A or a topic B. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. So once again, thanks for joining me and have a good one.